Hello everyone, my name is Carl from SwimSmart, doing another tutorial on one of our free downloadables. This is called Season Planning and Periodization. So this is not for your young kids, this is not for your 12 and unders, this is for your older ones who need to kind of schedule how their fluctuations throughout the season on how much intensity, how much aerobic endurance, how much sprinting they're doing, with the idea of that we're leading up to a season meet, like a mid-season meet or a championship season meet. And this is our kind of quick and dirty download that shows you how to do that, or at least helps you kind of think through how to do that. So there's a lot of explanations embedded throughout this Excel sheet. I won't go through them all, but you're more. That's a good place to start and just to read about how this works. So here's the reason why. On this front page down here, you'll see all these tabs that we'll go through real quick. So the how is probably the most important thing for most coaches. Like, how do you think about season planning? What's the goal? How are you going to schedule things? And why are we going to do it? So for our template, there's a couple things that you should probably know. We use kind of four major training zones: these aerobic endurance, aerobic power, lactate tolerance, and sprinting. They each have a different meaning. They each fit in with something. And then more importantly, they each focus on something in the body that they improve. Here, I'll get myself a little more out of the way so that you can see, and we will zoom in. Okay. So more important, especially for swimmers, is to explain to them, like, why does this set help them swim faster at the end of the season, right? So for aerobic endurance, if you had to pick one thing that it was going to improve in your body, it's going to be mitochondria. For aerobic power, if it's going to be one thing that you, now obviously there's a lot of overlap, right? And in our biology of swimming book, we go through all of this in great detail. But if we're going to summarize things into just a couple seconds, this is how we do it. So aerobic power works on your heart and blood vessels and all the way down the line, right? It's even into like race strategy, tempo, distance per stroke. Like, what are we focusing on here? What are we trying to improve? What about dry land? You know, there's different types of dry land, different kind of levels that we do, and we have other videos and other downloads to kind of deal with that. But here, you want the dry land to fit into your season as well, right? You don't want to just do random things at dry land. You want it to fit in kind of like a nice puzzle piece. And so each dryland piece has a specific focus, and we're going to schedule that throughout the season. Okay. Going back here to the left side, so we're going to use our like senior template, our 2-week template. So this kind of creates a microcycle. I'll show you that in a little more detail on the next page. And then we have down here an entire like example season. So if you were at a 30,000 foot view, how am I going to schedule each week? So we have weeks here on the left. We put in like where our big swim meets are. There's probably one big one in the middle and one big one at the end. And then by column, we're going to schedule each week to do something specific. So what's our training focus? It's going to be more on the endurance side of things, week 1 or week 1 to 4. And then it's going to be more race training. And then it will have like a little taper session. And then we kind of repeat the cycle. A couple weeks of endurance, get the heart and mitochondria back up to racing, condition. Then maybe we do a little more race training, pre-semi-taper. Pre-semi-taper is a fake thing I made up for the kids because they always ask towards the end of the season, are we tapering yet? Are we tapering yet? It's like, yeah, we're pre-semi-taper, which means that we're just race training. So this is more for the kids than for coaches. Okay, so then for each week, what's the energy system that we're focusing on? That's what this column is for. What's the stroke focus that we're working on? So you maybe start out with distance per stroke the first couple weeks, then you work on more tempo. Then as you get closer to the racing day, you work on more race strategy. Obviously, all of these blend in all the time, so it's not like you just totally ditch the other things. But what's going to be the main event of that week is kind of what I'm trying to outline. Dryland focus, same thing here. So microcycle, this is your 2-week template, these colorful bits up here. And then your macrocycle, whoops, I'm in the way again. Your macrocycle is just from the start to your next big swim meet, championship meet, okay? So let's kind of go through, I won't go through this. We have other videos where I kind of talk a little bit more about how this template is set up, but this is just an example of a 2-week stretch. and example workouts that we do for each of those days. And if you want more explanation and more in-depth talk about what each day is focusing on and what each set is focusing on, it's down here at the bottom. Okay, so let's take a look at weeks like 1 through 4, right? So here is that same chart that we had at the beginning, and we've only highlighted the first 4 weeks because that's what we're going to do on this page. And for each 2-week cycle, we kind of write our, where should I point? I should point there. Anyway, we write week 1, what's our focus distance per stroke, days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then these are our different sets. So each box here is one set. And what you'll notice here is that the boxes are different sizes. Okay, so why are they different sizes? Because we're going to spend only that amount of time on that set. So this is a good example here on day 4. Imagine that each line of the Excel sheet is like 10 minutes, right? So we're only going to spend 10 minutes on a lactate set. So they're going to go 100 all out or broken 100. They're going to do that a couple times and then we're going to be done. We're going to move on to aerobic endurance because early in the season you want more endurance to work on mitochondria, get the kids back in shape, get their hearts back in shape. And so if you divide up each line into 10 minutes, that's how we're going to adjust throughout the season how much we're focusing on sprinting, how much we're focusing on 200 pace, how much we're focusing on endurance stuff. And then down here in the green is what you're going to do for dry land, right? And this changes week by week. So week 1 is going to look like this. Week 2 is going to look like this. Week 3, week 4. And again, I go through more depth information or explanation here. So we do that again for week 5 and 8. And if you look at the boxes, as I click through the next tab, the boxes kind of change sizes, right? So if I go back, all the sprinting stuff, which is mostly at the top, is small, and then weeks 5 through 8, as we get closer and closer to the race, the big championship meet, the boxes kind of even out. So we're not gonna totally give up on endurance. We're definitely gonna keep that as like a base for our swimmers, but we're gonna do a lot more sprinting. We're gonna do a lot more 200 pace as we get closer to the swim meet. The dry land's gonna change, so strength and power, speed and power. Again, there's a whole dryland video and template which will be separate, and you can see that for more details. And then we do the same thing for weeks 9 through 12, weeks 13 through 16, and then of course you want to finish off with taper, which is it's basically the same thing as all the others, but just less of it, right? You don't want to change the intensity during taper, you just want to change the volume. That's kind of the general consensus of the research and what most coaches will tell you. And then I just have some final thoughts at the end. So I hope this will be helpful to you guys. Let me show you where to get it. So if you go to swimsmarttoday.com, I'm in the way again. Okay, so you go to the bookstore tab. There's this free downloadables here, and you look through. There's a ton of these free downloadables. This one was the season plan, right? So you click on season plan, add to cart, you get a download link, you go through it, and you can adjust it and change it however you like, and hopefully it helps you out. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you at the next one.